So let's get started right away on our backs. Taking the time to really settle the spine into the mat, plant the feet, knees are pointing upwards. Closing the eyes for just a moment to take a deep breath in through the nose and a deep breath out through the nose. And with your feet planted, on the next breath, squeeze the glutes and start to peel the lower back off of the mat, lifting yourself one vertebrae at a time towards a bridge pose. And then just as slowly as you lift it up, start to lower back down, letting each vertebrae find the mat. And let's take that 2 more times, just as slowly. Squeeze to lift. Maybe finding half an inch more space at the top, and then lowering back down. And last one like this. Squeeze, really press the heels down as you lift. And lower back down. Really nice. Now keep the left leg exactly as it is, just turn your right knee out towards the right. So the outer right ankle is now resting on the mat, and we're going to do the same thing. So squeezing the glutes, start to bridge your way up. Maybe the outer right knee comes towards the ground, and lower back down. Cramping, very common here, just 2 more, we can do it. So squeeze the glutes, lift up, probably won't go very high. And lower back down. This is really working the outer hip as we squeeze. Last one. And lower back down. So much harder than it looks as we replant that right foot. And let's just take one traditional bridge pose here in the center just to shake things off. Notice if there's a difference between the right and left sides. As you lower back down. And we find our second side. So the left knee will point out towards the left with the outer ankle resting to the mat. Squeeze the glutes to lift. Any amount, doesn't have to be high. And lower back down. 2 more. Squeeze, really press the right heel down to assist you. And come back from where you came one last time. Squeeze, see if you can find a little bit more space here. And return yourself to the mat, planting both feet in one last bridge pose here. Right down the center, both knees pointing up as we lift. And lower. Beautiful. You can hug the knees in towards the chest. Just give yourself a little hug here. Rocking it side to side. And we're coming towards all fours, so you're welcome to catch behind the legs and just roll yourself up, or if you prefer, you can swing your legs over to one side as we make our way to an all fours position with the shoulders above the wrists, and you might just want to center your left knee slightly so that we can start to take the right knee around in some big circles. Really waking up through that right hip. Let's take a few in the other direction, squeezing the abs. When you finish your next circle, place that right knee down sort of roughly between your hands and start to inch that left leg back. So we're coming to sit towards our right heel, and you could prop up on fingertips and squeeze through the left glutes. We're looking for an opening in the front of the left hip and hip flexors. So the chest is proud, the shoulders, are released behind you. Big inhale here. And on the exhale, you can start to walk that upper body forwards. Any amount, maybe resting down onto the forearms, maybe the forehead comes to the back of the hands. Still keeping a little bit of engagement in those left glutes, maybe even squeezing and releasing a few times. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And a deep breath out. And then walking your hands back, Finding our way back to all fours. Maybe you center that right knee ever so slightly so that the left knee can start to trace those big circles. And if you've done yoga with me before, you know that I love circles to wake up the joints. And let's take a few going the other way. Maybe some little pops and clicks. And then that left knee will come to sit roughly between the heels of both hands. Shuffle that right foot back, sitting back towards the left heels, coming up onto fingertips, squeezing through the right glutes, maybe even walking the fingertips a little further back so you can sit even taller. Maybe bringing a deeper stretch into the right hip flexors this time. Final deep breath in. And the exhale, you start to walk forwards, finding this forward fold, releasing the neck, releasing the head towards the mat. Perhaps a couple squeeze and releases through your right glutes. Glutes so important for the health of our hips. And as we lift up, we can simply sit ourselves off towards the left side so that the sole of the left foot is towards the inner right thigh. The right leg is extended at a diagonal. Turn to face your right leg, point the toes, and fold your way forwards again, any amount over that leg. Getting a little bit of a release through the lower back and hamstrings while we're here. Why not? It's all connected. Last breath. And then sit yourself back up. Keep the legs as they are. The right hand will find the left knee as we twist to look behind you. And then coming back through center and twisting towards the other side. Perhaps the left hand can hold the outside of the right thigh. Crown of the head reaches tall. And back to center for the second side. So extending that left leg out at a diagonal. Sole of the right foot towards the inner thigh. Turn to face that extended leg, pointing the toes, and slowly walking yourself forwards. Seeing if perhaps with every deep exhale, you can let something go. Last breath here. And start to straighten your way back up. Legs stay as they are. Left hand comes to the right knee. Take a look over your right shoulder. Twisting. And coming back through center and twisting to the other side. Seeing if that right hand can maybe assist you just that little bit further into the twist. And releasing out of that. Let's help the soles of the feet together, the knees out wide. Heels are a little bit of a distance here from the sit bones, planting the palms of both hands behind you. And once again, let's squeeze the glutes, lift them off the mat, and slide them forwards towards the heels as you keep the knees extending downwards. And then come back from where you came, sit yourself down, and release the squeeze of the glutes. Just two more like that. Squeeze to lift, kind of our theme for today as we slide forwards and slide your way back. Sit it down and consciously release. One last time. Squeeze, lift, slide forwards. Knees are still being pulled towards the ground. As we come back, sit our way down and find any comfortable seat that works for you so you can Just rock it out a little bit, left and right. Notice how your hips are feeling. Take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Let's begin today in a child's pose. So bringing the big toes to touch and knees out wide towards the outer edges of your mat, or as wide as you would like them to go, before walking the upper body forwards. So you can rest the forehead down towards the mat or to the back of the hands or to a prop. Let the sit bones sink towards the heels. Close the eyes. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And a deep breath out through the nose. We're going to walk ourselves back, but just slightly, just to walk our way over towards our right knee and fold your way down once more. So different sensation here. Let the left sit bone still be heavy in the direction of that left heel. Final deep breath here. As we come back through center, over towards the other side, folding down over your left knee. Letting the right hip sit back heavily towards that heel. Deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Beautiful. Coming back through center, lift yourself up into an all-fours position, but keep the feet and knees as they are. So the knees are still wide and the big toes are still touching. We're going to take ourselves around in a bit of a circle here. So you can experiment with the placement of the hands. You might want them further out in front of you. You might want them wider or narrow. Just kind of notice what you're able to do with the legs in this position. And then take yourself for a few circles the other way. Just waking up here. And then coming back through center. We'll come to a more traditional all-fours position now, with the shoulders over the wrists and the hips over the knees. And start to open and close your right knee out towards the side. Fire hydrant moves. We're just going to take 2 more on this side. These are tough. Working that outer hip and glute. And then set that knee down and straight over to the other side. 4 with the left knee opening out. Try to keep the chest facing down. Just the leg that's opening out. And I've already lost count, so let's just do 1 more for luck. And then sit yourself down towards the knees. We'll come to child's pose, this time a closed-kneed child's pose. So this might be a very different sensation in the hips and the lower back. Just an opportunity to refocus. Reconnect with your breath. And as we lift up through all fours, this time we'll step the right foot forwards to the outside of both hands. So you could be up on fingertips or flat palms. If you'd like, you could shuffle that back knee back a little bit. And once again, see if we can find some little circles here. So I actually prefer to come up on fingertips. It just gives me a little bit more space to play with. And let's try a few circles the other way. And then settle yourself into this posture. Keep some activation in your left glutes just to help you sink those hips towards the mat. Keep the left hand onto the mat. Bring the right hand onto your front knee to assist you into a twist. You can look over the top shoulder. Just see what you find here. And then keeping that hand to the knee, turn the right toes out slightly at a diagonal and let that knee fall open. So you might kind of encourage it a little bit further with that right hand. This is a big stretch. One more deep breath here. And then bring the toes back to point forwards. Replant that right hand. Step it back to all fours and shake things out a little bit. You might even like to extend that right knee back, maybe pressing into the heel, getting a little bit of a calf stretch and foot stretch as you rock forwards and back. And then returning your way to all fours. And step that left foot out towards the outside of both hands, maybe taking that right knee back any amount here. And see if you can find a few circles here with the hips. Maybe you prop up on fingertips. And let's take those circles back the other way. Who says you can't get creative in working the flexibility of your hips? And then settling in towards the center, plant your right palm down, bring the left hand to that front knee, and really press into that twist. See if you can find a little bit more space here by squeezing through the right glutes, sinking the hips further, turning yourself just that little bit more towards the left. And those left toes will point out at a diagonal. Let the left knee fall away from you. Perhaps the left hand helps it on its way. Big breath in. Big breath out. Super. Replant both hands. Step that knee back, wag your tail a little bit from side to side. And we'll come to a nice seated cross-legged position with the right shin in front of the left, so that the left hand can press the left knee down away from you. Maybe you take the upper body over towards the right. We're kind of duplicating what we did a moment ago, but taking out the element of balance, finding a little bit more stability in this seated position. Let that go. Bring the heels of both feet out in front of you and just shake the knees off, right and left. Little windshield wiper motion here. Before coming over to that second side, so the left shin will cross in front of the right this time. The right hand holds the right knee down, pins it to the ground as you perhaps turn that upper body a little bit more towards the left, maybe leaning over that left knee. Notice where you feel this. Is it in the lower spine, the outer hip, sometimes the inner hip even? All bodies are different. Good to notice where it is that we are tight, particularly in these complex parts of the body like the hips. And then release that, coming back to center. Bring the soles of both feet flat in front of you, the knees together. Bring the hands to the outside of the knees and start fighting against them as if you really wanted to open your knees, but your hands are in the way. Resisting this motion. And then stop resisting and just let them flop out. And just notice kind of how far they come. Just observe the difference in both sides. You can rock it out a little bit, left and right. And we'll try that one more time. So bring the soles of the feet flat, the hands to the outside of the knees or the thighs. Start to resist against yourself. Really give it all you've got this time. Give it even more than you gave it that first time around. See if we can't make a difference. Fight for it. Feel the work in the hips. And then let them fall out. You may or may not notice that you've gained a little bit of a difference. Perhaps one knee is falling a little bit lower than the other now. You can fold yourself forwards any amount. Give yourself a little bit of a shake from left to right. Let the head hang heavy. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And very slowly start to walk yourself back, straightening the spine. Finding a comfortable seat with the eyes closed to sway yourself a little bit left and right. See how your hips feel. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, sigh it out. This might be a good class if you have some yoga blocks at home, or if you just want to grab a couple of cushions and have them nearby just in case you want a little bit of extra support or comfort. So we can set those off to the side for now, and we're going to start lying on our left side. So you can extend the left arm away from you, resting the head down on the biceps, tenting the right hand onto fingertips and bringing the knees up in front of the body, roughly at 90 degrees. Take a moment here just to close the eyes. Take a breath in through the nose. And a breath out through the nose. And then start to take that right knee, the top knee, around in a couple of circles. So getting nice and warm and fast here. You can speed it up. You can make them bigger. And let's try a couple circles in the other direction. So go back the other way. Notice how your hips are feeling early on. Let's just take one more. And then extend through that top leg. Maybe the toes can find the floor. Maybe even reach that right arm overhead as well. Making one long line with the body and seeing if we can't find a little bit of a stretch in that outer right hip. Deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Beautiful. Let's lift our way up to seated. Bring the left shin roughly parallel to the long edge of the mat. Bend the right knee. We're going to use our fingertips here to press ourselves up into a tall kneel, squeezing the glutes. And then slowly sit yourself back down. So we're going to take that 3 more times. You could keep adding on with the hands. You could use a block to prop yourself up, or you might like to try it without the hands. So wherever you are, let's take 2 more. Really making this movement your own. These are tough. And 1 more just for good measure. And sit yourself down. Bring the hands behind the body. We'll take a couple of windshield wipers here. So bringing the heels to the mat and just rocking the knees left and right. I always like to take a couple of windshield wipers in between sides, just to forget about whatever happened on the first side before moving on. And eventually you can release that movement. We'll come to lie down on our right side. So extending that right arm long away from you, bringing the knees up to 90 degrees, tenting the left fingertips. Take a breath in and a breath out. And then start to circle that top knee away from you. Progressively larger circles here. Maybe speeding it up a little bit, seeing what you find. And reversing the circle. Let's just take 1 more. And then this top leg, the leg that was just circling, is going to extend away from us. You can point through the toes, maybe touch them down. Maybe reach that top arm long. Hopefully you don't have furniture in the way. creating that nice long line, reaching fingertips and toes even further away from each other. Breathing in and breathing out. And then replant that left hand to help you lift yourself up to that seat. The right shin is going to come roughly parallel to the long edge of our mat. We'll bend through the left knee, and again, using your fingertips to lift yourself up, using a block or any other prop that you may have nearby. Let's just take 4 more. 2 more. And last one, lift yourself up, squeeze everything, and sit yourself back down. Very nicely done. We'll bring the heels back into our windshield wipers here as we let the knees fall left and right, just a couple of times. And once the knees are over towards the left again, this time we'll stay here. So we're forming roughly a 90-degree angle with both legs. This is called 90-90. And we'll turn to face towards our front knee, our left knee. So this might be an opportunity to place a block under that knee, or perhaps to sit on top of a cushion, or again, whatever you've got going. And we'll lean ourselves over this front shin. So that might be any amount here. See if on every exhale you can release just a little bit more. And then I want you to think about pressing this knee down into the mat. So really crushing something underneath the outside of that knee as you press it down. Press it even harder, hold it there. And then release, and see if you can't drop just a little bit further into your forward fold. Last deep breath in, wherever you are. Deep breath out. And then straighten yourself up tall. We'll keep the legs as they are. See if we can't pick up the heel of that back foot and set it down, and then lift that knee and set it down 3 more times. So lift the heel, set it down, lift the knee, and place it down 2 more times at your own pace. And if something isn't lifting, that's perfectly fine. These are tricky movements. Just by trying, we're still working the tissue and the muscles to make ourselves stronger. And I think that's just about enough of that. So take a few movements here to shake things off. Eventually making your way over towards the right side, readjusting whatever you need to make those more or less right angles with both knees, maybe adding a prop under the knee or underneath your seat. And once you feel ready, you can start to invite the upper body to fold over that front knee, just observing wherever you might get to without judgment. And then once more, we'll think about really driving this front knee through the mat. Press it down. Keep pressing even more. I know you can press harder. Keep pressing for 3, for 2, and for 1. And as you release, perhaps there's the opportunity to go just that little bit further. Let's lift ourselves up, placing the fingertips of both hands down. Take a look at that back foot. Tell it that you're going to lift it now. Sometimes intention helps. See if we can find a little bit of lift. Set it back down and lift the knee. And set it down 3 more. I find this second side so much more challenging than the first. You might observe something similar in your own body. And last round. And finish it out. Really nice. And let's extend both legs away from us now. We're coming into a straddle pose, not your deepest straddle. This could be a narrow pizza slice or whatever works for you. The hands are still propped up behind the body. Let's flex through both feet and walk ourselves over towards the right. So we'll see if we can touch the inner left foot and the outer right foot to the mat. They may or may not touch, that's fine as we come towards a twist. And then same thing towards the other side. Noticing if one side, again, feels very different, quite normal, if that is the case. And let's go one more time to each side. So twisting right, twisting left. And if your feet are touching the ground, don't let that stop you. Keep pressing. Imagine that you could go through the floor. And return. Really nice. We'll come to a cross-legged seat with the right shin in front. Give the outer feet just a little bit of a press down through the mat. Imagine that you could pull the feet further apart from each other. And then release. And same thing, we'll just switch sides here. Left shin in front now. Press the outer feet down into the mat and imagine that they were pulling further and further away. Feeling the outer hips work, and release. Give yourself a little bit of a rock out from side to side. Take a deep breath in, and exhale. So you won't need any props for this practice, and we're going to start in turtle pose, one of my all-time favorites. So in turtle pose, we bring the soles of the feet together and the knees out wide, leaving quite a lot of distance between your heels and your seat so that you really have the space to fold the upper body forwards. And this could be any amount wherever you end up. Let the head hang heavy, releasing through the jaw and the shoulders. You can place the hands anywhere that works for you. You might like to slide them underneath your legs. Close the eyes here. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And out through the nose as well. And as every deep exhale lets you sink just that little bit further, just observe wherever it is that you feel the stretch here. It could be the outer hips, the lower back, perhaps even both. We'll just take one more deep breath cycle here. And then really slowly start to straighten yourself back up to a tall seat, eventually bringing the hands to the outer knees, to bring the feet flat to the mat and place the hands behind you. I like to keep the fingertips facing forwards here so that we can then squeeze the glutes and lift the hips up into reverse tabletop. And then sit yourself gently back down. And we'll try 3 more of this. So really squeeze to lift. Nice way to wake up the glutes, open up through the front of the hips as we come back down. Just 2 more. Really squeezing all the way, squeezing even more at the top. And coming back down, last one. Lifting up. And lower back down. Wonderful. Let's sit ourselves onto our right hips. The legs come into kind of this zigzag shape here, and the left hand can either rest down beside you or maybe catch hold of your left ankle as the right arm reaches up and overhead. So creating space here through the right side of the body. Might feel this in the outside of the right hip as well. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And then as we release, we'll plant this right hand beside us, extend through your top leg, and inhale to reach the left arm up and overhead now. So coming up onto the right knee, you might even turn the chest to face slightly towards the ceiling. creating as much space as possible between your left toes and fingertips. And either holding here, this is optional. See if we can bring the knee and elbow to touch. And then extend back out. Just 2 more like this. Knee and elbow to touch. They may or may not touch, actually. And lengthen. Last one. Bring it in. And extend it out. Really reach. And sit yourself back down. Really nicely done. We'll set ourselves up for Janu Shirshasana now. So the sole of the right foot comes to the inner left thigh. The left leg is extended out in front of you. And sitting up tall on your inhale. The exhale starts to walk you forwards. So again, letting everything hang heavy here. You can flex through the left foot for a little bit more sensation. Perhaps feeling this in the hamstrings and really looking for sensation in the lower back. Big breath in and out. And then start to walk your way back up to that tall seat. We'll simply pivot ourselves over onto the other side, onto our left hip, recreating that kind of zigzag motion with the legs. The right hand rests down beside us or holds the ankle as the left arm reaches up and over. Perhaps finding a little bit more space on the second side. Or perhaps a different sensation altogether. And the left hand will come back to the mat, straighten through that right leg as we pick ourselves up and reach the right arm, alongside the ear. Finding that long line once again, squeezing the hips to maybe encourage the hips a little bit further forwards, and either staying here or joining me for 3 motions, bringing the knee and elbow to touch, and then extend them away from each other. 2 more. Bring them in and send them out, and just 1 more here. And find that length and sit yourself back down. And once again, we'll set up with the sole of the left foot this time to the inner right thigh, perhaps flexing through that right foot as you start to walk your way forwards. Letting everything hang heavy here. Not forcing ourselves into this position, but just exploring what it may feel like for a few breaths. And let's walk ourselves back up. I'm going to extend the legs out in front of you. I'll just turn to the side here so you can see a little bit better what we'll do next. So sitting up nice and tall, you could even prop your back against a wall here for a little bit of extra support. Look at your legs, point the toes of both feet, and see if you can pick up your right leg and just open it out a couple inches to the side. And then see if you can do the same thing with the left leg. So we're creating a little mini V shape here with the legs. And then we'll pick up the left leg again, bring it back to center, and same thing with the right, closing it off. Let's try the same thing. So pick up the left leg this time, open it out. Do the same thing with the right. Doesn't need to go very far to feel the front of the hips working. And then bring the right back to center and bring the left back to center. We'll just do 1 more cycle of that on each side. So right leg opens and the left does the same. Bring the left leg back. And bring the right leg back. Last cycle here, we can do it. Left leg opens, right leg opens, maybe you go a little bit further, bring it back, and close it off. Really nicely done. Let's roll down onto our backs now for a couple of well-deserved stretches after all that strengthening work. You can plant the left foot flat, cross the right ankle over the left knee, and maybe stay here, just sending your right knee away from you. Or perhaps you'd like to pick up that left foot and hold behind the thigh or in the front of the shin. Take a few deep breaths here into that outer right hip. One more breath. And if you were holding that left leg, you can let it go. Set the left foot down, keep the ankle crossed, and just let your legs fall over towards the left. So coming into a twisted pose here. IT band stretch, you could open your right arm out towards the side, maybe even turn to look over that right shoulder. And then rock those legs back towards center, uncross. And the second side, crossing left ankle over right knee. Perhaps staying here, sending that knee away from the body. Or maybe picking up that foot, holding on anywhere you'd like for a few breaths. Last deep breath. Releasing hold of the leg, bringing the right foot flat once again, just so that we can tilt ourselves over towards the right. Left knee pointing up towards the ceiling, left foot flat to the floor, and perhaps turning the upper body over towards the left. And at the close of your next exhale, rocking those legs back to center, uncrossing the ankle. Pick your favorite side, roll towards that side to lift yourself back up into any comfortable seat so that we can just take a moment to shake things off a little bit left and right here, noticing how our hips and lower back are feeling. Let's begin on our backs today. Rolling the spine down. And once you've arrived, you can bring one knee and then the other in towards your chest, giving yourself a bit of a hug here. Close the eyes. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And a breath out through the nose as well. Now placing one hand on each knee, on your next inhale, start to widen the knees with the help of the hands. And then softly bring them back together on the exhale. Let's take that 3 more times. So inhale as you open, and exhale to close. The last 2. And last one. And then just widen the knees. Let's just hold here for a few breaths. You could stay static, or you might like to kind of rock one knee up and down, almost like you're turning the steering wheel of a car. Just a few movements here just to kind of loosen things up, get things going, get things warm. And then bring both hands over towards your right knee. Hug it in towards your heart as you send the left leg long. You could plant the left foot flat to the mat if you prefer, or simply extend that leg far away from you. So coming into half wind pose here, and again, you could hold still, or you might like to rock that knee just an inch or 2 left and right, or front and back. You can even trace some little circles in each direction. And we'll come towards a half happy baby. So one option here would be to simply widen this right knee out towards the right and hold here. Or you might have the space to bring your right hand to the outside of the right foot and kick that heel up towards the ceiling, encouraging the right knee down towards the ground. So wherever you are, just holding here for 1 or 2 deep breaths. And then softly releasing. We'll switch sides. So begin by bringing the left knee in alongside the right, and you could just hug in both knees for a moment, rocking yourself a little from side to side. Before sending that right leg long, either stamping the foot down or kicking the heel away. And again, you could choose whether you'd like to hold still here in this half wind on the second side, or take some little circles or swaying motions with that left knee. And then eventually coming towards stillness and choosing your half happy baby option, so either just swaying that knee open towards the left, or perhaps the left hand finds the outside of the foot, the little toe side of the foot, to kick the heel up towards the sky. Either way, as long as you feel a stretch in the hip, that's all we're after. Last breath. And then bringing both knees in towards your chest one last time. One last little squeeze here. And then plant both soles of the feet flat to the mat. And we're going to lift up onto our elbows here. So just resting on the forearms and then widening the feet a little bit and turning them out about 45 degrees. So the toes are off of the mat, the heels are still on the mat. And from here we'll squeeze the glutes and lift up into kind of this modified bridge pose, lifting as high as we can and then lowering just halfway. And 3 more times. So squeeze to lift, lowering halfway. These are really tough. See if you can avoid any shaking in the knees. And last one, lift and squeeze. And lower down, really nice. Press your way up now to a tall seat, and we'll bring the left leg long in front of us and stamp the right foot to the outside of that left knee. You can keep the left ankle flexed and use the left hand to hug that right knee in towards your left shoulder as you twist to look over the right. So still sitting up tall here, the crown of the head is reaching for the ceiling. Initiating the twist from the hips and the lower spine. And then returning yourself to center, uncrossing those legs, maybe giving them a little bit of a shake before we move to the other side, planting your left foot outside your right thigh, hugging the thigh in close, and twisting towards the left. So thinking about growing taller on every inhale, and twisting a little bit further with every exhale. One more breath. And then release. And swinging the legs over to one side so that we can come to an all fours position, with the shoulders above the wrists and the hips above the knees, stepping it out a little bit from left and right. And then center your left knee. We're going to take a fire hydrant movement, so opening your right knee out towards the side and then bringing it back, and then kicking the toes of this right foot up towards the sky and bringing it back once more. So opening the right knee out to the right and closing, and then kicking it high and bringing it back. Just 2 more like this. So open out towards the side and kick it back. And last one, keeping the torso facing the mat here. And kicking it up. And then bringing this right knee forwards towards your hands, picking up the left knee and placing it just behind that right knee. So you could stay right here if you're already feeling a stretch, or you might start to sit yourself down any amount towards your seated shoelace pose. You can widen the feet as necessary or readjust in any way that you need. So finding a spot that feels like an appropriate amount of intensity. We'll just hold here for a few breaths wherever you are. Sending the breath to wherever you feel sensation. And to release out of this one, if you had found that shoelace pose, you can use the fingertips to kind of walk your way forwards again, untangle the legs, make your way back into an all-fours position to shake things off a little bit. Before bringing that right knee towards the center, and we'll take those same fire hydrant and donkey kick motions. So bringing the left knee out towards the left, and then kicking that heel up towards the sky. 3 more like this. Keep the abs squeezed. Keep the glutes strong. And last 2. And last one. You've got this. Kicking it up. And then bringing that left knee forwards just a little bit towards your hands so that we can pick up the right knee, bring it somewhere behind the left, widen the feet, and then either staying here or sitting back any amount. Take your time to get here towards that shoelace pose. Finding a tall spine, maybe even closing the eyes. Really experience whatever it is that you find here. One more breath. And then let's lift ourselves back up. Coming back to that all-fours position, shaking things off a little bit. And then tucking the toes of both feet, lifting the knees up, sending the hips high towards the sky, tailbone reaching for the ceiling, downward facing dog, maybe pedaling out the feet, a little bit left and right or holding still. Feeling length in the lower spine and in the back of the legs. Final deep breath in. And with the exhale, bring your knees back down to the mat. Find your way into any comfortable seat to shake yourself a little bit, left and right, observing how you feel. The effects of your practice. And bring the hands to prayer in front of your heart. Allow yourself a smile. Well done.